Okay. All right. How was lunch? Good. Everybody ate? Great. So let's get into it. Let's talk about this a bit. So what's something we notice about when we look at our mod.js? What's something we notice about it? Okay. There's a lot of condition statements going on. It's a great observation. Would other people agree that this is kind of ugly?
Yes.
Yeah, that's it. Because of all those condition statements, mostly, right? Yeah, you're not. There is a lot of repetition. Yeah, sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. I thought you had finished your sentence. What was the end of it?
Oh yeah, just said. There's probably ways to make it more concise.
Yeah, great. So there's probably ways to make this a lot more concise. Do we think this would be maintainable as we built down a larger application? Maybe.
It's going to be less syntax errors.
It's going to be, I don't know if it's going to be less syntax. Depends on who's writing it. But yeah, they're still going to make syntax errors. But like, imagine if this was Facebook, right? Think about all the different like API calls they have, right? They probably have users. They probably have a specific user call. They probably have photos by a user and a photos table with joined other tables we're not going to talk about yet. They probably have like comments, different comments table. They have messages, right? They have who likes what. They have who shares what. They have friendships. There's like a lot going on, right? And if we had to write a route like this for every single thing in one file and also just like this, that would get pretty unruly pretty fast. This is only like 4 routes, and it already is starting to look a little crazy. So let's talk about, this is like dun, right? This is where Express comes in. Express is going to help us with this problem. So I'm going to comment out all of this at the moment. I'm going to start again at the top. As if none of this ever happened. Okay. So let's start. So first thing we got to do is bring in Express, right? And I can read a little bit too about, let's see what Express does. It's going to help with our routing a lot. It's going to help with interacting with databases. This isn't a great way to do that. Express has packages, like other people have built packages with Express that's going to allow us to help with user authentication. It's going to help with our formatting output. That's HTML, JSON, XML. And it's going to help us improve our security against web attacks. So Express is going to help us big time. So let's just kind of dive into Express and see what we can do. So I'm going to stop this browser because we no longer need it. And I'm going to install Express. I'm going to say npm install Express -- save. And we've got our Express. Just like that. We can see it in our package JSON. That now one of our dependencies is Express. Pretty cool. Okay. So how do we use it? How do we use it? First thing we want to do is create an instance of Express by requiring Express. So we're going to say const Express equals require We okay with that? Yeah.
Just go one step back, which you did a terminal again.
I installed the Package Express.
You would type it.
npm install express dash dash save. Alex?
So just to take a step back from that, should we do npm init this folder also?
Are you in a new folder?
Yeah, yes, I
Then
agree.
yes. So if you're in a brand new folder, you definitely want to do npm init so that we can put dependencies into our package JSON. Eric,
Is it only compatible with ES6 or ES1? Great.
this is compatible with anything.
When you do npm install express, automatically creates the package JSON as well now.
Does it? Maybe it does.
I think if you did it backwards, you install Express and then you would just npm init. Would that cause issues?
I don't know. Well, does your package JSON look okay?
I see dependencies Express and I see me as an author.
Sounds all right. If it automatically installs it, that's great. Nilly?
And I set up the package name and the name of my folder. And it's not the issue of things that I would usually see. It says, it's way for me to enter something.
I'm not sure I understand the
It's
question.
like a prompt. Like I'm entering npm init.
Yeah, that's just setting up your package JSON.
I'm sorry, just press enter and then go.
Yeah, that's fine. Davey?
What's the difference between package lock? That's not like,
I think package lock shows us the dependencies of all the things inside the node module.
it's definitely not package JSON.
It's a different object. I think this is coming from all the stuff inside of our node modules. It's not something we write. Ooh, it's heating up in here.
Yeah, it works.
Have we all made it to this step? Give me a thumbs up if you haven't made it to this step. If you have not made it to this step, okay. We'll give a couple more minutes. We're safe here.
Look like you can above that line, outline line.
I didn't.
Okay, this is.
npm install Express.
Right? We're doing it. That's just the same way we've been installing our packages like Chalk, Figlet. This one's just Express. Okay? So the next line, I'm going to initialize a variable. I'm going to declare a variable called app. And this is kind of like the tradition with Express to call it app. And I go Express, and I invoke it. And this gives us access to all methods on Express.
What does that mean? Like, is it different from using functions? Like, you need to require and have access to functions? Or like Chalk?
Yeah.
Express doesn't have functions, it has methods.
Why don't we console log what Express is out of? So, might get crazy, but we can try it. And all of your what is Express questions will be answered, right? We gotta take a look at it first, but if I run that, we get that this is Express.
It gives access to
all of the methods on Express. So now if I console log app, I'll see exactly what I got. Probably gonna be another giant thing, but maybe not. Pretty big. But we see it's got like, oh, post and patch, and put, and I bet it's got get. And those look familiar to us. It's got this param, interesting. Handle, use, interesting.
Lazy router.
It's got something called lazy router for the lazy ones.
Oh, these are functions.
Right, so these are the methods that we're going to have available to us after doing this. And so, what?
Can you go package? For a second?
Package JSON?
Yeah. 1 second. Let me look.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Okay, so if we're going to be receiving a GET request, we can write something where we say app dot get. And say, let's say slash for anything that's just plain slash, and we're going to pass in a kind of function, callback function. It's going to take a request object and a response object. This should look somewhat familiar to the last one. And we can send some sort of response back in our, with our res, we can do res.send, and I'll say, this is a home page. And just like before with the port, I have to specify what I want our app to listen on. So I'm going to say app.listen. I'm going to pass in 3000. I mean, you can write port and all that. I'm just going to write the number directly in there. I'm going to add a little message underneath saying you are listening to port 3000. Oh, actually, I think this can take in a callback function. So I can pass in callback function. It does that. So if we're successfully listening, it will call this callback function. Yeah, John.
What do you need to take a callback function? What can you put in there? Listen.
I guess anything you want.
Put in an error message.
If it doesn't work, possibly, I'm not sure.
What's the first parameter there? Just a forward slash? String one?
Right here, this is going to be the route. So every time someone does a just one slash, that would be the GET request. So just like before when that would give us our home page when we did slash, this one is going to give us back this text that says, hey, you're listening to this.
Like home page or contact page.
Hmm?
Sorry, that's just like click or console log. Like unclick this on this is
Kind of. I mean, what do you mean? But like, this isn't.
like how you have to just the slash there and say that then somebody slashes it will take you to the home page. That means like whenever it's the same as it.
Yeah. Yeah, you could find. You could if that helps you remember it. That's totally a valid way of looking at it. This is going to handle any GET request with a slash. So let's see that happen. So we're going to save it. We're going to go over here. I'm going to get our server running again with node mod. Let's say mod.js. So we're fixing to port 3000. I'm going to go to the slash. This is your home page.
Can you show how you're starting the server again?
Yep, I run it with Node and the name of the file. I'm doing it with NodeMon so that it updates every time I save, restarts, but you can also just run it with Node.
Can you talk us through the page?
Can I what?
I'll go back to edit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Alex?
So what do the HTML tags mean when it's like, it says pre? So like if you inspect your, the page, like
These things?
the elements, yeah. Is that just?
Maybe,
from, like,
maybe it stands for preview or something. I don't know. I'm not sure. We won't usually be sending
like
this.
this?
Yeah. So that's a good question. Okay, were we all able to? Yeah, Eileen?
Questions able to just type from now on, Node, index.js, or Node, anything, like outside of this.
What's to keep you from doing that?
Yeah,
You might not always want to run every time you reset.
you know, but if you do not project, you have to fix stuff all the time.
And it's like, for what? For your server?
No, it's just the regular old stuff. You have to download the packages, I don't know.
I mean, you're welcome to run NodeMon on things if you want it to run every single time you make a change. It's up to you. I don't find that every time I save, I need to run something. But if you do, that's totally like, okay.
Corey, so
Yeah.
like, can you run an HTML page? It would show you're running HTML. Right now, there's no HTML, just JavaScript. And the link says localhost. How does it display that? If you're not like writing documents to the screen, it just says localhost and it prints that line.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The request send is the same as like putting an H1 tag to like to the localhost page on the web browser.
On the browser,
Yeah,
it just shows it in a free tag.
yeah. Oh, it's in free tag, so okay. So that's how it shows it on screen.
Yeah, I mean, we're not using this for the elements, right? We're just passing in a piece of text right now. Were we able to successfully get that? All right, so let's try another route. So before we had a contact, right? We can do app.get / contact, and we say request response, and we can say res.send. This is the contact page. We've got our home page, and we've got our contact page. It's doing a lot of the same thing, right? We're just not doing all of these ifs, else ifs. We're not having to say request.url. It's doing the matching for us. Janelle?
Go back to the JS, please.
So, these are asynchronous since they're getting from an API.
I think they're synchronous, but I'm not sure. I'm not 100%.
Cause like we'll have to use get on like actual. We're using this only on our local servers.
Right now.
Yeah, but later on.
Eventually, we'll have it hosted. So it'll be like over the website. But that won't probably be until season 5 or season 6.
Right.
Yeah.
So for the inside the response.send, we have this like string of text that says this is only.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were to specify, for example, path of a specific HTML file, would that actually display that specification?
Interesting question. So JR is saying, well, what about if we want to display HTML? Well, we'll get there.
I can't seem to find my mod.js. Could you copy and put that in the snippets, please? Just that.
Sure. I mean, I'd rather you write it along with me, but I can do that.
I mean, did you? The one with the server, like I can't get a server up because I don't know what to run. Like I don't have the file.
This is all you have to run. Mm-hmm.
Okay, then I can copy it. Never mind.
It's okay. I've already sent it. It's all good. I haven't been running any HTML. So we were using HTTP before to get a server. Now we're using Express. This is going to help us in the long run.
On the terminal?
Node and then the name of your file. Unless you want to use nodemon.
So how would that?
Then you write nodemon and then the name of your file. So I have nodemon.mod.js. You could also have done node at mod.js. But now if I make a change, I'd have to kill it and restart it. So instead I'm doing nodemon to save myself that step. Good questions. Yeah, Ben. Sorry, could you repeat it?
What we did, I guess last week, on Friday, when we did like the API.
Yeah, we'll get there. Everyone's like super excited. I love it. We will get to HTML. We will get to JSON. I don't know if we're going to get to all of it today. We might. Command not found. Which command? That sounds like maybe it's not installed for you. Hang on, Trey?
So what we're doing right now is just like a simpler way of doing whatever we did on Friday.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Nalini?
If we had those channel 3000, if we had like channel 2999, then we could run two things at the same time on two different pages.
I think so, yeah. Yeah, so I know it seems like we took a step back from yesterday or earlier today, right, when we were having all these things run. But hopefully you're starting to see how much cleaner this could potentially become. And as we go through this week, we'll see even ways to make this get cleaner, but still using a lot of this. But it'll be separated out into files. Yeah.
How is it knowing specifically which file paths to I know it said like get a string of /contact.
That's how. It looks at that request that URL and it chooses the right one.
Can you show the browser URL I'm supposed to type in?
Well, this one just says localhost :3000/contact. Okay, so we've got a little bit of action going here. So we also have access to all of those HTTP methods, right? So we have app.post, app.put, app.delete, and we can see them. Let's take a look. So if I say app.post, and I go slash, and I go request response, I can say res.send got a post request. Same thing with put, right? We could do app.put. And I'm gonna say, let's say we do it on user. And I'm gonna do request and response. Res.send got a put request. Let's do delete for good measure. Let's say app.delete, and we'll say that this is for a specific user. Whoops. We can say request and response. Whoops. And we can say res.send got a delete request @/user. Well, when the podiums are rocking. Oh,
Just out of curiosity, does Express have those on?
not built in, no. I installed it globally.
So
So I installed it globally on my computer so that no matter where I am, I can use NodeMon.
should we just do that too?
Probably. It's a helpful package with this kind of stuff. Crispina?
So we're applying those functionalities, the post put, we're applying that to our server? Is that what?
This is when we get a request that comes in. So when somebody says like Axios.delete user and passes in some sort of data, we would have access to it here. Currently, we're not doing anything with any of those calls except for just giving back some text saying that those calls exist. So let's see let's try this out in Postman. Right, this server's working. So if I open up Postman, did I not save this? Wait. Oh yeah, wait a minute. And close this. So hopefully that's something that looks somewhat similar to this. Give you a second to catch up. Give me a thumbs up if you need some more time. Okay. Yeah, of course.
literally.
I didn't have to go. It's supposed to be a rotation. Game over. Yeah, I used to drink a lot of yeah, like that is perfect. Because you have like a lot of
So that was the one that we were asked for.
All right, so let's explore these routes. So we can say, make a GET request to our localhost slash, yeah, localhost 3000 slash, and I'm gonna send it. And we get back, this is the home page. All right. Let me see. Yeah, I can. Yes. Can you see that? That's a colon. So I'm doing this so we can also practice using Postman a little bit, which will become a more valuable tool than will be demonstrated today. Let me know if you were able to get home. Still working on that.
I don't know what else to do. I don't know why I got this.
You can put request instead of written request.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, make sure you're using a GET request. This is one of our routes. Bane? Is your server on? Let me know if you need help. I'll come around.
Unpose creates an HTML file.
Sorry?
Unpose creates an HTML file.
Unpose?
Post.
Oh, unpost? I guess. Our post, it should say got a post request. Let's see. That's our next thing. We can go to post, hit send, and it says got a post request. I'm just going to hit the routes that we have. Trey?
So I try to do a request. Is it supposed to, are we supposed to get like an HTML document?
So for put, let's do put. We'll go put. And we have our route, which is /user. When I hit send, it should say got a put request. Make sure you go through all of them.
Can we put something?
What do you mean?
We actually like put something.
I'm not doing that right now.
Thank you.
I'm not getting that. I get HTML. It's actually using our code.
That's not the question.
That's like a-
Yeah.
It's-
Sorry?
Well, that's not being whacked.
Just a board number, it's like a common one that people use. There's a few common ones, I forget all of them, but it's dealer's choice. Alright, so this is what happens when we get a put. So what about our delete? If we do a delete, we should got a delete request at user. Is everybody able to successfully call all the routes? Does anybody need help calling all the routes? Of course. We're not?
That is and also find report.
Oh, and the listen?
Yeah, does it also create a report?
Mm-hmm. It's
So
working.
Listening and creating.
Yeah, it's like, well, this is the port, right? Before we just were going like const port equal 3000, and that's also okay. I could just do port here.
How do you know that this report
It's like a common local development thing. Like it's only for like we would have to start it, kind of. So it still should work here. I'll do this again. Yeah. Johnny.
So, just to understand the question, app.listen creates and sets the port.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's telling it to listen to at that port.
And not create, oh, just listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's already available.
We're saying there's going to be a port 3000. That's where we want to listen.
But 3000 already exists, we're just listening to it.
We chose this. We could use any number.
Oh, okay, you chose it. It's the same as writing 3000 in the program.
Yep. Variable evaluates to its value. Leo.
So what if we do not have a user pass, so this can create it automatically, or we have to?
So we can't, I don't think we want to create routes automatically. We want to be very explicit about which routes are accessible.
Yeah.
And when we choose those, right, we're going to typically want to use a RESTful API. So if we have a user, you know, we're probably going to want to be able to create users, read users, update users, delete users, right? This is CRUD, create, read, update, delete. That's like a foundational concept that almost all apps use, which is this idea that you want to be able to do all of those things. Unless you don't want people to be able to delete.
Yeah, I mean that where this code created this user routes.
We created it right here when we said it's listed, that we don't have a get user right now. We just have a put for user and a delete for user. We wrote those.
I see. Just add that code. Just add that code. For example, for the pool, the 916,
Mm-hmm.
created a route, user route automatically.
Mm-hmm. We are creating the routes right here that are available to us. Okay, so what if we do want to send a little bit of HTML? I'm going to answer that question. So inside of our Git, Res has a lot of different things available to it, including like JSON and stuff and status, which we'll get more into later. But I could send a file And I could say underscore underscore dir name. Oops, I'm not in there, am I? Plus. And we called it, what do we call it? Mod.html. Okay, so if I save that, and I go to our site now, now we get our hello world. It's a lot easier.
Can you say the code again? Thank you.
So there will be an even easier way to do this, but I'm not going to do that yet. I'll probably do that tomorrow.
What's in there? HTML?
Everything is currently in my HTML. So if I currently have my style and script. I don't want to show yet the way to separate that. I'm going to do that once we talk about middleware. But now we got HTML, so that's pretty cool.
You put that in your get request.
Yeah, I did that in my GET request, right? And I could see the same thing with contact. I know I have a contact page. So I could say send file. I could say dir name plus slash contact HTML. Now when I go to our contact page, oops, there we go. Apparently I have a syntax there. Oh, because I'm calling API people, which doesn't exist yet. I can add that. App.get API slash people. And I could do request.response. And we got to make that people object. So I'm going to go back and grab it for right now. Oops. Did I spell something wrong? Okay. And then I can do res. I think I can do res.json. Pass in people. I think. Let's check. Maybe not. Thank you. It's so nice debugging with 30 plus eyes to help. Oh my God. See, so now we've got our content. So you can send things up, right? We sent something up with send file. We also sent something up with JSON. That's a lot easier, right? I mean, we've almost built exactly what we had before, and it looked like this. And now, I mean, these put and delete are all, like, we're not using any of this, right? This is all stuff we're not even using. And so to get essentially the same functionality, all we've done is write it like that, which to me looks quite a bit cleaner. Still not as clean as it will eventually get, but we're getting there. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Okay. So there's one more thing I want to talk about today. Are we ready to move on from this or not yet? Oh, all right. I'm gonna give it a few minutes.
Just, yeah, let's move into it. No, I was just like, I don't know if I realized
String bucket.
Express does that for us. Express and Express is just there to make us honest. It's not that hard. But also, stuff.
Did you send me your?
Well, you want to pass this question based on So is the front and back of the switch.
Or that's okay. What are you supposed to display with display? I'm pretty sure it has to do with the names of things, because I've been naming things with names. But I don't know if that's it. And like, yes, I know.
So that one,
Yes.
the context one.
So how many-
Welcome. Okay, clap your hands if you can hear my voice. Whoa, clap your hands 2 times if you can hear my voice. Cool. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more. So these requests can take in like regex stuff. I'm not gonna get like too into that. Just want you to be aware of that for now. The other thing is there's something called wildcards. And a wildcard is part of your route and you can gain information from it. So let's say I wanted to do, I have this app.get and I have /profile. So I want to grab someone's profile and I want their ID, right? Someone like the URL, they're going to put in like Corey/462 because that's whatever profile is, that's Corey's profile. So we can make those kinds of routes with a colon and then whatever thing we want. So if I say :ID, this will get passed in to our request object. So let's kind of see what that looks like. So if I go request and response, right? And I can then respond back. Res.send. Let me just console log. Console.log. So request.params. Params is something that comes in on a request. It's a key. So let's save that. Sorry? I do. Thank you. I love the 30 eyes helping me. You have no idea how much easier it is. It's insane. Every time I write a bug, I'm like, where is the someone dose? Thank you, Max. Good catch. Johnny? We're about to see that. Good question. Let's see it. So I'm going to now go to profile. Do I still have the 3000 there? /profile / say 2034. Hit enter. Nothing's going to happen. But we can see here, this object got sent back. On our console log, we've got this ID and this number 34. Right? So what if potentially I could do something where I could say, knowing that piece of information, we could do res.send. You requested profile, and I'm going to do request.params .id. So now if I go to the page and I refresh, we get you request profile 34. Okay, and I can change this. I can go to 90. Says you request profile 90. So with this request, we're getting things from the URL. And those things that we're getting, we're denoting with these slashes, with these colons inside, and they're becoming the keys. Johnny?
So those two requests that you made, 34 and 90, are their objects, keys and values somewhere?
They are being passed in as params on the request object.
So are they created? Do they exist now? Since we called them?
Well, they're just letting us know what we're requesting. So let's say I have a database that has tons and tons of users, and one of the users is Corey, right? And that Corey user has an ID of 255. So I could take this request.params.id and pass that into a different function that goes and gets the Corey user object, and then it would pass that in, and then we would be able to generate the page that's specifically Corey's profile. We're not quite there yet. Christina.
So I've been to websites where I typed in things into like a box, and then I would see what I typed in like in the URL. Is that kind of what we're doing a little bit?
Tell me what you mean by
Okay,
that.
so like any kind of thing where I'm putting into a select, or not select, into an input, and then it would like reroute me that would refresh the page once I hit enter, and it would like put that information into the, like I could see like, oh, I typed that in, like.
Yeah, we'll be able to change the route from inside of our app. We'll be able to push and navigate to other places. And you were probably experiencing it from the front end. So you're seeing the front end route. I'm not sure what they're sending into the back end route. Probably some sort of data lookup. Okay. Yeah, it's okay. No big deal. Okay, so let's say, does this always have to be name? An ID? No, it could be something else. I could say name. I could want the profile person's name. And I could say name, and I could say oops. Right. And so here, now instead of it being an ID, I could write Corey, or whatever I wrote, Cordy, because Cordy is our favorite user. Now, it doesn't really know that it's a name. Like, it doesn't, we're calling it name because that's what I'm typing in. I could still type in a number, and it'll still say that. It's taking that as a wildcard. It's accepting anything in that exact space. So let's branch out a little bit more. Yeah, Johnny?
So if I want to use 56 again, or Cordy, I just do console log and type Params name, and there's stored 56 or 40 instead.
Well, if you console log, it will just print that to the terminal, and then that would be gone. Are you not?
Can you basically write anything with their name?
Yeah, so exactly. So I could say name slash, so let's pretend we did breeds. Let's say breeds slash, or I'll say dogs slash breed slash age. So I'm only looking for specific dogs of a certain age, I guess. Where do we go? And inside of that, I'm gonna console log our request.params again. And I'm gonna go up to here and I'm gonna say dogs slash poodle slash, I want a 4-year-old dog. Gonna hit enter. And we can see here it got passed back as breed and age. Pretty cool, pretty nifty. There's a few different ways we can pass information back, but we'll get to more of those tomorrow. But I think you need this one in order to do the homework. Johnny.
Is this similar to-
Yeah, hang on, Johnny. It's in the middle, asking a question. Yeah.
Is this similar to forms when they had that long URL with data ones?
Yeah, so that actually became a request query, which we will learn about tomorrow. But we want our forms to come back more secretive, which we will need a way to parse the body, which we will learn about tomorrow. I am going to try something just to check. I don't have to pay attention to this yet. I'm just checking something.
Anything goes?
That's what I'm hoping for. Oh. Oh. So this is exactly what we had set up then in the last round. So just as I kind of briefly mentioned, which I mean we can get more into detail at a later point, or I really recommend like going through and reading some of the Express documentation, which you can find like here, and it can tell you all about this kind of stuff, which is like under routing. It will tell you, where does it tell you? Might be in more advanced routing. Oh yeah, see, it talks about, it shows like, this is like regex stuff, where it's saying like you can pass in A, and then as many B's as possible, and then CD. This is all like string, regex is something that looks for string patterns. And so star is something that like captures everything. And so I'm saying like, if my route doesn't hit any of these things, it's going to end up hitting this, and that's going to match with anything after. Because that's what star is doing. It's saying anything as much as there are things written, and then I'm setting the 404 not found page in order to give my user a better experience. Okay. Yeah, John.
Question, can you do 3 routes using wildcards? Can you do for 3 routes? How you did dogs for each?
You can use as many as you want.
But can you do that with 3 wildcards, 3 asterisks? So then you can put like
What do you mean by 3 asterisks?
/*////. It worked when you type it out.
As soon as you have the star, it would just be everything. Let's not get too crazy with using like regex. I'm just showing like a simple catch-all everything else that doesn't match. Crispina?
I'm sorry, you keep mentioning what regex, and I
Mhm.
I don't know what that is at all.
Sure, it's something that recognizes string patterns. It exists in JavaScript. It's something that we don't really teach. There's a bonus set of material that's in our curriculum that if you want to read about regex, you can. But it's not something you necessarily have to use every day, or like you definitely don't need to have it memorized. It's better to just know that there is something. And usually if you are looking for something that would use like a string pattern recognition thing, someone else has already written the regex for it, and you can look it up. But we can see that we got these wildcard params, and these get passed in on a request object as params, so that we can see what the user is giving back. Any final questions on this? Yeah, Johnny?
What about using the application JSON? Like that's just the constant people.
So right here we sent up JSON with our response JSON. Oh, I might be tempted on this to go res status 404 and that. Just, you can chain these events. These are all chainable. So you're seeing I'm changing the status to the response to 404 as well as sending the our 404 HTML file.
Wow, what's the reason for changing?
Because I want the status to be 404. Luna?
So what's different about the dog's breed and age? Why, how is that different?
Great question. So people is looking for a route that specifically says the word people. Okay? The breed and age are being accepted as these wild cards, meaning that anything that gets put in, so if we have it says, as long as it says dogs, it means we're going to this route, because it's our only dogs right now. We say slash whatever, slash anything, then we can still go to this get, this exact get call here, and we'll have these request params available to us that will have this object that says breed, whatever, age, anything. Our other one won't have those params.
Can you explain the star again?
The star is something that is regex, so it's looking at a string pattern. So it's looking at that URL and it's matching anything. That's all that's doing. So if none of these routes get matched, it will end up getting to this call here and it will match it no matter what. But since I don't have any other route for whatever they put in, I'm just passing in my 404 HTML. Eileen?
So does that mean that is it a twice doing, or if the star is there, it has to be at the bottom and to be anything else?
I think it's got to be at the bottom. So let's take a look here. And we have a slash, right? Slash should give us something. Gives us hello world. And now if we were to move this to the top, yep. So order definitely matters. For the most part, but that's because we're using this whole catch-all. If we weren't using like a catch-all thing, it wouldn't really matter, right? Crispina.
On line 23, I wanted to know if that res.stat, the status part was like a built-in feature of what we're using right now?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, okay, so then the number 44 that's like a variable we could put in any number, or it recognizes it as that error?
This is our response status. So we could put in any number here. This is telling our response status for that website to show in the header that it's also a 404, which means not found. That way I'm keeping our status aligned with the pages. I think the other ones might default to 200. I'm not sure. Or not?
That's sort of a default statement.
This one?
Yeah.
This is kind of like my else. Yeah, this is my else. So if it didn't hit any of these other ones, just send this 404 HTML file. Johnny?
Can you put multiple, like, res in the functions within the get? Like in the routes, like app.get?
Yeah, I think we could put multiple ones, but we might not have to necessarily, but we can.
Like if the contacts page is broken, it loads the next one, contacts, HTML.
What do you mean if the contact page is broken?
Let's say someone's updating the contact HTML page and they didn't finish the job, so it loads the backup contacts, the HTML.
So it's an interesting question. So when we're making websites that are hosted live for other people, it's never broken because we would be hosting the version, master version. And when people are creating something new or updating something, they would be doing that on a separate branch. And until they have that working, then they would merge to master. It definitely wouldn't want to break master. That would be bad practice. Good, like really good question. That's a version control question. Trey?
So just to be clear that we don't have to put the status codes of 200 for any of them. It just defaults to 200.
I think it defaults to 200. I haven't seen it written anywhere where people are doing that, so it probably does. Christina.
Where is it that the code is going to? Like, is it in like the console, like the developer console that code is going to? Where it says res.status. I'm still kind of stuck on that, I guess. Yeah.
This is
where's
telling
that
us-
to?
In here we have statuses
Yeah.
in your network, and for some reason it doesn't show up online.
No,
But
I remember what it looks like. Thank you.
you're welcome. All right. Okay, so there's an assignment for the day that is basically doing all this kind of stuff. So have at it. All right. Thank you. Thank you.